We are back now with Representative Rashida Tlaib, representing the 13th District in the United States Congress from the state of Michigan. Rashida Tlaib was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, to a Palestinian-American family. I believe she's the eldest of 14 children. In 2018, she became the first Muslim woman and first Palestinian woman to win a seat in the U.S. House of Representatives, representing, as I said, Detroit and the surrounding areas. And now, Ilhan, I know you're listening and you're saying, hey, wait a minute. We were both elected on the same day. She's not first. We came in at the same time. But I need to remind you, we are in the Eastern Time District in Michigan. After 2 years of championing her community and her constituents with a passion and a courage that would make the late John Conyers proud, that's whose district the 13th was, Rashida won her primary battle in an overwhelming and dominant victory in August. This year, this occurred, though, despite a ferocious attack against her from corporate interests, from Republicans, some Democrats, and, of course, Donald J. Trump himself. This extremely high turnout, though, that we had in the Michigan primary, in Rashida's primary, in Detroit, which is, of course, as you know, Michigan's largest city, is a great signal for the November 3rd election. And Rashida now joins us, as you already heard, to discuss how the hell are we going to turn Michigan back from, I hate to use the words, red state, voting for Trump in 2016. What are we going to do right now? Because it's 2 weeks from today is the election. How are we going to avoid the shame that we've had to live with being called a red state for the last 4 years?
It was a sad moment, wasn't it, Michael? No matter, even if you're a Michigander forever, right? And you go away maybe to other states, but you look back, you're like, whoa, the birthplace of the labor movement? Really? And I'll tell you, it's because turnout. Now, I what I mean by that is this. Look, I never blame my neighbors, my residents. Sometimes, it is on us to inspire, to make voting easy. And luckily, and we're very blessed now that we have some new laws in Michigan that allow people to register to vote the same day. They don't have these deadlines to change your address, because I got a lot of folks that I talked to didn't do all that. But really, Michael, at the core of it is, really trying to do what I call persuasion to turn out. People are still trying to persuade Trumpers. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, stop wasting your time in that kind of conversation. That's a longer conversation, Michael, and I get it. But I think there are folks, when I look at my district, the 13th district, about 44,000 less people came out in 2016 than they did in 2012. So close to 300,000 came out total. So we're trying to motivate and talk to those folks and say, hey, we're here. What's going on? And it's because no one's spoken to them since the Obama campaign. And that's the truth. You talk to them. No one has come and knocked on their door. No one has mailed to them. No one's spoken to them, texted them, called them to say you're needed. We need you to make sure you come out to vote. And guess what? Here's your voting location. This is what you need. I'm still going door to door. And I got, about the senior event I had, and close to a dozen Puerto Rican women came. And the one woman had the courage to kind of raise her hand. She had a question. And I said, yes, ma'am. And she said, can Puerto Ricans vote? I mean, Michael, there's so much misinformation and myths. And I look and I said, absolutely you can. And then I'm going door to door and another person says to me, do I need my voter registration card? No, you don't. Folks think that they need these official documents. They don't. They're on a list. They, of course, you don't need your ID, but you can bring it. But folks need to know that there's a lot of options when you go out and vote. And now you can early vote in Michigan. And so I'm just hoping and continuing to hope that folks understand it's now persuasion to turn out, persuasion
right.
to show up.
Well, you're doing more than just hoping, because a couple weeks ago, Time Magazine had a big article about how there's like a ghost campaign in Michigan, meaning they were saying, and they interviewed the Biden campaign, and they said, no, we decided not to have a ground game this year, that we're not going to do door knocking. We're not going to do that. And I read this and my mouth is like wide open. I can't believe this. Jaws hitting the floor. What do you mean there's no ground game? And then then all of a sudden I go on my Michigan sites, and there you are. You're going door to door. You've got an army of people who are being COVID safe, going to people's doors in and around the Detroit area to get people out to vote. So tell me what is exactly going on. How correct did Time Magazine have that story? Because it shocked me to think after Hillary ignored the state of Michigan that this could be happening again. I want to believe that it is not true, but I was happy to see that you decided, whether it was on your own or whatever, and to pick up the slack.
Yeah. And the Michigan Democratic Party is now on doors. I mean, we're people are starting to understand the importance of it. Look, I think a lot of people want to be extremely careful. We're in a pandemic. We want to be able to, we can do this door to door safely. And, making sure, again, I mean, these are people, these are volunteers that are at the door. So you got to make sure folks are careful. But I got to tell you, underestimating the direct human contact continues to be the biggest mistake of any campaign. Direct human contact, especially our core people. These are people that have come out and supported us in the past. If you get them to come out and support us, they will do it right away. And we're not even having to persuade them to vote with us. We just have to make sure, kind of put that social work hat on and make sure that they have the information they need to be able to know where and how and all the things that are important to voting. This is how I have consistently stayed connected to residents, is the direct human contact of door to door. And I'll tell you, Mike, I mean, I'm on doors. I met a woman yesterday and I said, oh, hi, Miss, her name is Miss Phillips. I said, Mother Phillips, I see you vote every time, but I'm here to talk to you about these three gentlemen. And she goes, those are my sons. And I said, yep, they're adult sons. They're all registered. She goes, yes, they're all registered here. I said, well, what's going on? Why haven't they voted? She goes, well, one, had this issue. They couldn't vote. And I said, well, they can vote now. And she goes, you mean that these other two didn't vote before? I said, no, they haven't voted since 2012. And so just even having that conversation with her, Michael, and understanding that, she's got to work her block as well. And right away, two of her sons came out of the house and she said, where do they got to vote? I told her there's a satellite office right there in the Bruges Park area. And I said, this is where you go. And they're open 9 to 6, Monday through Friday. You can't beat that, Michael. And they're open Saturday and Sunday from 9 to 2. And so again, it is that investment of time into talking to these individuals. And, my field organizers are in low propensity, precincts. They're talking to people that have consistently been ignored by, national campaigns for whatever reasons we can go back and forth about. But one thing that I think President Obama and the Obama campaign did extremely well, because I worked on his 2008 campaign, we were never asked, hey, who did you meet with? How many bougie events? No, it was always, how many people did we talk to this week?
Right.
Give me, that's exactly, Michael, every single week, Chicago National Office was consistently asking us, how many voters did we register, brand new voters? How many people did we contact? How many volunteer shifts did we book? That was so consistent and so centered on field.
You just revealed a new method of getting out the vote, which is knock on the door, talk to the mother, tell on the sons, out them for not having voted.
That one, Michael, was the last week. This other woman came to the door and, she's not on the list. I said, it looks like you already, she goes, yes, ma'am, I already voted, Rashida. And I said, oh, I see that. I said, well, who's this Brian guy? She goes, that's my stepson. And he goes, he's working. I said, well, okay. Is he off on the weekends? She goes, yes. And I said, well, that Greater Grace right there, the church right there. She goes, yeah, right there. I said, they are open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. And then the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 9. And she looked at me, she goes, I'm going to take him. I said, that's exactly what you need to do, because he won't go unless you take him. So Michael, I think targeting mothers is a really key method of turning out the vote.
I have never heard this before, and I hope people listening to this will employ it. I mean, Rashida, seriously, what you have been doing, and you've got a small army of people that are doing this, and it's not being
very small.
It's not being run. It's not being run by the Biden campaign. You guys have just decided. And I remember when I was 18, and a couple friends of mine, the Democratic Party wasn't doing anything to help George McGovern. So we just decided to declare ourselves the head of the McGovern campaign for Eastern Genesee County. We just made up our own signs. We just did our own stuff. Like, you can't, especially with an election like this one, you just can't wait for it to happen. But I just want to remind people listening to this that, if you remember, Rashida was one of the top people out there helping the Bernie campaign. as was I. And so these are two Bernie people, but especially you are out there doing this every single day.
Oh, I'm making sure that Trump will not serve another 4 years. No way. On November 3rd, I want to transition a peaceful transition and make sure that he's locked out of the White House forever. I am.
But can I tell you? I don't mean to interrupt, but this is the first time in this entire campaign in all these months, that story you just told where the mother was going to take her stepson on the weekend when he's not working to the polls over at the church,
Yes.
that you got her to commit. I know that she's going to do that.
He was extremely committed.
Yes. So when you just said that, in my brain, the light bulb went off and I thought, oh my God, we might make it. This is the first moment I thought we might make it, because that's how this will win. That's how we'll win.
I love the ones who answer. There's one gentleman pulled up on the driveway. He's like, "What are you doing on my porch?" I said, "Oh, I'm your Congresswoman, Rashida Tlaib." He goes, "Oh yeah, how you doing?" I said, "Good." He goes, "Don't worry, I always vote." I said, "Really?" Because right here it says you didn't vote last time. Michael, he goes, he's in his car. He's got a big truck. He goes, "Well, I kind of wasn't around." I said, "Okay, I just want you to know, though, that's why I'm here. Don't think I'm here because I'm just wanting to make sure that you're inspired." I'm not trying to shame them, Michael. I really
no, I understand, but no, I can't. If you showed up on my doorstep and you said, all of a sudden my Congresswoman is on my doorstep and telling me that I didn't vote, and I would just have to hang my. Yes, I know. I'm going to do it. I promise.
And I'll tell you, you see him. He wasn't. He goes, he kind of his head down, and he said, I wasn't around. And I said, well, I just want you to know, we really, your community needs you. When you show up, we're literally saving lives. So I hope you come out and understand the importance of making sure that this election is too big to rig. And he kind of nodded. He understood. And I told him, you have so many more options now because of new laws in Michigan. These are satellite locations. You can vote early. Go down there. And I stressed to him, now's the time to actually drop off your ballot if you request it. There's no time for that if you didn't request one. And again, this is a real conversation with people. And what's great is even, another person, I kind of said the same thing. I said, well, Mother, you hadn't voted. And she looked at me. She goes, Rashida, I didn't come out last time because I really thought she had it in the bag. I really thought Secretary Clinton had it in the bag. And I said, well, we can't underestimate we cannot underestimate the power of, turning out and making sure every vote matters. I said, we lost Michigan by 11,000 votes. And she goes, I know. And I said, how do you want to feel the next day? She goes, I want to feel as if I did everything possible to save our democracy. And so that's exactly, to save our country really is what she said. But I really think, again, these are real conversations that are authentic and real and it really resonates with people. No piece of mail can replace it. No robocall, no billboard, no TV ad. When you're talking directly to people, it really does inspire and help people understand the importance.
Wow. I can't thank you enough for doing this. This is not in the job description of a member of Congress where you have to go door to door, not for your election. I mean, yes, you are officially still on the ballot, but there's not much of a Republican opposition. So we all know that you'll be given another term here, but for the president and for all the other, we have a close Senate race in Michigan, and I just listening to you and the stories you just told, and I want to point out something too to our listeners. When you have politicians on, and that's, of course, now Rashida is officially a politician.
Ew, I hate that word.
I know. Well, you do your
social worker with the Congresswoman title. That's or something.
Social worker. That's a good one. Social worker with a Congresswoman title. No, but that is exactly how you look at it. And what you do, I just want to point out something that you just said. You were quoting that person saying that that she thought Hillary was going to win. And that she knows now that she has to do this to save our democracy. That's how you said it. And then you paused and you said, well, she didn't say democracy. She said to save your country. Now something in your brain went off and said, no, I have to quote her correctly. Well, she's not a famous person. She's not, no one's going to know what she said at the door to you, but in your own conscience, you said, no, she said, save our country, not our democracy. And you just went back and corrected yourself. And I want to just say, as someone who's interviewed many, many people on this podcast and in my films over the years, that's a rare tiny moment, but it's very telling about who you are and the work that you've done and the people that you fight for in Detroit. And those of us in Michigan, we can't thank you enough. Around the country, I'm sure you get lots of love, but and I know the hate you have to put up with too, but that's okay. You're supposed to get that if you're doing the right job and you've been doing it. And I just, want to thank you for that. And just your last words to people who are listening to this, especially because I told people, I want people who don't live in Michigan to hear this, because everyone's on pins and needles about Michigan. Everyone's so worried that we're going to screw up again. And I don't like to give false hope, but your final words to both to the people who are voting in Michigan, but also to the people outside of Michigan who are listening to this.
I want you all to realize the power of conversation you're going to have throughout your family, your friends. You hear this all the time. Please take that time to text and call them directly. Don't rely on Move On, and don't rely on national campaigns. Don't rely on other folks to do it. Do it yourself. I think there is so much power in that. And I say this to you all because just today, my friend Steve realized his neighbor, who he's working on the campaign to elect, reelect Bridget McCormick to the Michigan Supreme Court and Elizabeth Welch to the Michigan Supreme Court. Both are candidates trying to get that court to be much more fair and balanced. As you know, they just, rejected the executive orders that by Governor Whitmer to keep us safe during COVID, which worked. And now you see the record number, just an increase of numbers going up as folks are disregarding, wearing masks and all those things. But Michael, like he said today, he goes, I feel like a failure. My neighbor, I didn't even think, and again, don't underestimate.
Mm-hmm. Don't assume that your neighbor's already voted.
Yeah, don't assume. And Michael, I'm the eldest of 14, and I have a voting block. They're married. I got a niece that's over 18. I know that when I text and call them, and maybe sometimes put that threatening kind of pressure on, I'll never talk to you again if you don't vote. But really encouraging and understanding the importance of it. When it comes from you, you're a trusted source. It's a personal ask of please show up, because I tell them if it's not for yourself, if you're not going to show up for yourself, show up for others. Do it for others. You're needed right now. You're so needed to come out, because, for many of us, it's not just names on the ballot. It is issues that are so critically important to us, from clean water to our democracy to not, vilifying and removing wombs, dehumanizing and removing wombs from immigrant women in detention. I mean, all of those things are on the ballot. So we need to really not make an assumption that people understand the importance and really come out and vote.
Are we going to be okay?
We're going to be okay because, Michael, I learned in Detroit, transformative change, that real change happens when there's an awakening on the streets. And if these uprisings for Black Lives Matter, the kind of movement I see on social media, if that continues to, like you say, rumble, if that continues to beat loud, and the more coordinated and organized we become, we will see change. We really will. And if it's, layers your focus on the White House and Congress, it won't happen. But if we focus on the streets and organizing the streets, that's who got us organized labor movement. That's who got us the Civil Rights Act. That's what got us the right to vote, was the work in the streets. If that continues to grow and get strong and be invested in and supported, we're going to be all right.
I also believe that. And we're going to be all right because of people like you. We've been talking to our Congresswoman from the 13th District in Michigan, which encompasses much of the city of Detroit and its western neighbors. Thank you very much, Rashida, for everything you've done. Rashida Tlaib. And 2 weeks. That's it. We got to do it. All right. Thank you. And we'll continue now with our final third of our Michigan episode here.